Language Learning Series, the 16 Language Learning Secrets.
So, we're about to break down something pretty wild. How a chemist, yep, a chemist, not a linguist, managed to master 16 different languages. And the best part? Her secret isn't genius. It's a system. A system that anyone, and I mean anyone, can use. But first, let me ask you something. What's stopping you from learning a new language? Really, think about it for a sec. Is it a lack of time? Not enough money for classes? Or maybe it's that feeling that you can't really immerse yourself unless you just pack up and move to another country. These are the barriers pretty much all of us face.
Okay, now what if I told you one woman had all of those same problems and she still managed to become fluent in 16 different languages? We're talking English, Russian, French, Japanese, even Chinese. Her name was Kato Lomb, and what's so fascinating is that she wasn't a natural at languages, not at all. She was a chemist by training, which means she had this engineer's mind for solving problems.
I mean, her story is just incredible. She was born in Hungary, got her chemistry degree, and then, boom, the Great Depression. No jobs. So what does she do? She grabs a Russian textbook and a novel and just starts teaching herself. That one simple decision kicked off a lifelong passion. She eventually became one of the world's very first simultaneous interpreters. And get this, she was still actively learning new languages when she passed away at 94. 94!
And here is the absolute most important point. She never believed she was some kind of genius. She said it herself. It wasn't talent, it was a method. A system that you can actually replicate. So let's break that system down, starting with what was probably her most radical idea.
Okay, so her first big idea completely flips the script on language learning. She argued you do not need a plane ticket to achieve total immersion. You can create that entire environment right where you are. It's all about changing how you interact with the language from the very first day.
Now, this goes against everything we were taught in school, right? The old way, reading, stopping at every new word, looking it up, it just kills your momentum. Kato argued that it's way more powerful to just guess the meaning from the context and keep going. Because when you guess right, that little aha moment creates a memory that's 10 times stronger than just looking it up. The goal is to absorb the flow of the language, not to get snagged on every single detail.
This idea of absorbing the language flows right into our next concept, the language microclimate. I love that phrase. It's basically the practice of making the language a permanent resident inside your brain, like an internal monologue that's always running in the background.
And it's incredibly simple to start. When you're doing chores or driving, just narrate what you're doing in that language. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're just activating that channel in your brain. And this was her key insight. You learn grammar from the language, not the other way around. You build that intuitive feel for it first. So, building on that foundation of immersion, Kato developed 3 specific, really powerful habits to make sure all that knowledge actually sticks.
Think of these as her 3 pillars for deep learning. First, rethinking the dictionary. Second, a clever trick for listening. And third, a method that most of us completely ignore.
Let's start with the dictionary. Kato said most people only use about 10% of its power. Her rule was simple. Never just copy the example sentence. Instead, create your own sentence that's intensely personal and emotional. A generic sentence is totally forgettable, but a sentence about your own terrible 47-minute commute, you will never forget what commute means again because you've attached it to a real feeling.
Her second habit is a subtle but seriously powerful brain hack. When you're listening to something, you jot down a few words you don't know and look them up right away. But, and this is the key, you don't write them in your notebook until the next day. That small delay forces your brain to work to recall the information, which is exactly how modern memory techniques like spaced repetition work. She figured this out just by intuition back in the 1970s. It's amazing.
And finally, we get to the habit that she said was the most neglected but also the most effective, written translation. Specifically, translating from your native language into the one you're learning.
This quote just nails why it's so powerful. When you speak, you often don't even hear your own mistakes, they just fly by. But when you write something down, you are forced to confront every single gap in your knowledge. Is the grammar right? Is that the correct preposition? Like Kato said, an uncorrected error is a practiced error. Writing helps you find them and fix them.
So, how do all these different rules and habits actually fit together? Well, they all serve one master formula.
This was Kato Lomb's grand equation for language learning. Time and motivation are the fuel. That makes sense. But the secret ingredient is the denominator, inhibition. That's just the psychological wall, the fear of making a mistake, of being judged, of sounding stupid.
And this is where it all just clicks into place. Every single one of her methods is designed to systematically lower that denominator. Reading without a dictionary, that reduces the fear of the unknown. Talking to yourself, it removes the anxiety of having a listener. That delayed review, it takes off the pressure to have a perfect memory. And private translation, it gives you a safe space to make all the mistakes you want. Her genius wasn't just finding effective techniques, it was finding techniques that made it psychologically safe to learn.
So, what can you do, right now? Here are 5 actions, maybe taking 30 minutes a day, that put her entire system into practice. This isn't just some abstract theory, it's a concrete plan you can start today.
Kato Lomb proved that the biggest barriers to learning aren't time or money or where we live. They're internal. Her methods show us how to dismantle those barriers, not just for learning a language, but for any skill. So the only question left is, what do you want to master?